What's up guys, it's Tommy here and welcome to a brand new Liverpool transfer news video where you will get major updates around Rodrygo, and Rodrygo's agent has flown over to the UK to hold talks with Liverpool because Liverpool see Rodrygo as a huge market opportunity, unique opportunity to strengthen the side with a world-class left winger, and he has been left out of the Real Madrid team for the first game week. I mean, he was on the bench, but he didn't even come on against Osasuna. He was an unused substitute, so it's clear that Xabi Alonso has no plans to use Rodrygo this season. He will not be playing regularly for Real Madrid. So basically Real Madrid want to sell him because right now they see him as a player that is surplus to requirements, which is pretty strange because Rodrygo has been a major player at Real Madrid alongside Vinicius Jr. in the last few years, but Xabi Alonso is freezing him out. It looks like he doesn't fancy him, and according to many journalists, Liverpool see this as a huge opportunity, and the latest report is that Rodrygo's agent has travelled to the UK to hold talks over a blockbuster move to the Premier League. Of course, Liverpool are just one of the top clubs interested in Rodrygo because Man City are also interested in Rodrygo as well. Right now, of course, Liverpool are a much more attractive proposition. There is a lot of uncertainty around Man City, whether Guardiola will stay beyond this season and whether they will get punished heavily or not. That remains to be seen. And Rodrygo is seen as an attacking addition that Liverpool could land if they can't sign Isak. I can't see Liverpool signing Rodrygo and Isak combined in the last 2 weeks of the transfer window because Rodrygo would cost around 90 to 100 million pounds, Isak would cost around 130 million pounds, and unless Liverpool sell like 2 or 3 players, I'm not sure we could spend that amount of money. But according to these reports, the Real Madrid want around 78 million for Rodrygo, which is still a lot of money, but it's not as high as the 100 million that was mentioned previously. And if you think about it, Ekitike costs 70 million, and Ekitike is a lot more unproven than Rodrygo. Rodrygo has many years of experience in the top 5 leagues, top leagues in La Liga, playing for Real Madrid, and he also has Champions League experience, and he has already played 270 games for Real Madrid. And in the last 3 seasons, Rodrygo always got at least 14-15 goals and at least 8 to 10 assists on average. He has around 17-18 goals a season for the last 3 seasons for Real Madrid. He has 14 last season, 17 the season before, 19 goals 3 seasons ago, and he also had 10 assists 1 season ago, 8 assists 2 seasons ago, and 10 assists 3 seasons ago. So he's a very, very reliable player. But as I said, he doesn't really play for Real Madrid anymore. He only started 1 game at the Club World Cup under Xabi Alonso, and he also didn't play a minute against Osasuna in their La Liga opener. So it's clear that Real Madrid want to get rid of Rodrygo, which is pretty strange because he's just 24 years old. The best years of his career are ahead of him. And what is also great news is that yes, he's primarily a right winger, but he can play on the left wing, he can play even as a striker or as a false striker, so he can be very versatile. And that's exactly the kind of player that Liverpool are looking for, because there is still so much uncertainty around Alexander Isak and whether that transfer will come to fruition. I think we will see some major moves on that after the Newcastle-Liverpool game on Monday night. And the report from Spain adds that Arne Slot's project includes a very ambitious strong line. Because Arne Slot wants to combine Florian Wirtz with Mo Salah, with Hugo Ekitike, and potentially Rodrigo Goes on the left. Arne Slot gave his approval, and Liverpool see Rodrigo as a reliable replacement for Luis Diaz. By the way, Luis Diaz had a terrific Bundesliga debut, scored and got 2 assists against Leipzig as Bayern Munich ran riot 6-0 winners against Leipzig. Absolutely embarrassing for Leipzig to start the season with a 6-0 loss. And Rodrygo's representatives have flown over to the UK for talks. Real Madrid are willing to listen to offers for Rodrygo. Rodrigo in the final 10 days of the transfer window. Rodrigo is believed to be keen on a move to a Premier League giant, so he would either want to move to Arsenal, Liverpool or Manchester City. And Football Insider revealed that Man City have already agreed personal terms with Rodrigo, but they remain in talks over the move. Liverpool are also registering an interest. Liverpool are also talking to Rodrigo's agents and representatives. Liverpool want to find out how high of a wage Rodrigo wants, because his wages are £200,000 per week at Real Madrid, so if he doesn't want a significant, huge pay rise, then Liverpool can afford this transfer. As I said, probably if we don't sign Alexander Isak, but I still would prefer Liverpool to sign Alexander Isak. But I think Liverpool want to remain in the conversation in case Newcastle are so incompetent that they won't be able to sign the two strikers that they need in order to facilitate the Alexander Isak move. And Man City and Liverpool are locked in talks with Rodrigo. And if you look at his whole Real Madrid career, he has 68 goals and 47 assists in 270 games, which is of course not in the territory of Mo Salah numbers, but still that's 115 goal contributions in 270 games, which means that in almost once every 2 games Rodrigo gets a goal or an assist contribution. So in 100 games played, in 42 and a half games, Rodrigo gets a goal or an assist, which is not too bad considering that in the first 2 or 3 years of his Real Madrid career, he was just a bit part player. And also he was very young, like a teenager. So if you count his last 3 seasons, he gets a goal or an assist once every 2 games, which is a pretty decent return. But I'm really worried about Man City in this Rodrigo transfer saga, because Man City are in talks with Tottenham to sell Savinho for £70 million. I just don't understand why Savinho would cost that much. He didn't do anything of note in English football. And just 3 years ago, Troyes bought Savinho for £6.5 million. Troyes is one of the clubs in the City Football Group, and he hasn't played a minute for Troyes. And he ended up at Manchester City. Great money laundering schemes, by the way, by the City Football Group and Man City. I'm of course saying that ironically, and it's ridiculous that football allows this to happen, that an owner can have 10 to 12 to 15 football clubs around the world and just shift players from one club to another. But yeah, Savinho hasn't done anything of note in English football. How on earth is he worth £70 million to Tottenham? It just shows how desperate Tottenham is. I mean, Savinho has 3 goals in 48 games for Man City. That is ridiculous. He has 11 assists as well, but still 3 goals in 48 games. Is that really worth £70 million? I mean, come on. Yes, he's 21 years old, so he's pretty young with bags of potential, but still, he's nowhere near worth that amount. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And Pini Zahavi is Rodrigo's agent, and he informed Liverpool of Rodrigo's wage demands, and also they have sat down and held talks last Friday, and the talks are continuing, and Liverpool are seeing Rodrigo as a realistic option in case Liverpool won't be able to sign Alexander Isak. Rodrigo still has 3 years left on his contract, and he wouldn't come cheap, but his estimated value is around £80 million, which I think is pretty high. But if you see Savinho as £70 million player, then Rodrigo is definitely worth £80 million. I mean, come on now. His current wage is £200,000 per week. Of course, his true value remains open to discussions, and I hope that Man City won't, bid too much more for Rodrigo than what Liverpool does. Because I think if Rodrigo were to choose, he would choose Liverpool over Manchester City. But Rodrigo's salary would be between £200,000 and £250,000 per week, according to his agent. I think that's pretty reasonable. Wirtz is on similar wages to what Rodrigo is asking for. I just don't think Rodrigo is worth to be £300,000 per week or close to that, because that's already like Virgil van Dijk territory, and Salah is the highest earner with like £350,000 to £400,000 per week. as well. And according to Jorge Nicola, it's increasingly likely that Rodrygo leaves Real Madrid. He's heading to the Premier League, according to the journalist. The question is whether he will play for Liverpool or Man City, because both Premier League giants are interested. Pep Guardiola has been trying for a long time to sign Rodrygo, but Liverpool have entered the fray in recent days, willing to make Rodrygo the replacement for Luis Diaz, which is, I think, would be a great move. The atmosphere for Rodrygo at Real Madrid since Xabi Alonso's arrival is very bad. And yeah, it's just for some reason, just Xabi Alonso doesn't fancy him. They don't get along well, and Rodrygo hasn't played. He started one game since Xabi Alonso became manager, and that was in the Club World Cup. Otherwise, he was either not used or just played for a few minutes. And he's too much of a talent to just rot away at Real Madrid at just 24 years old. So he also fits the age profile that Liverpool are looking for, and he's considered to be world class. His output is pretty consistent, and he has only had one significant career injury, which was in the 2021 season, so a long time ago, like 4 years ago. So he would be pretty much a perfect signing, especially if he can feature on both sides of them on the pitch, because Salah goes to the Africa Cup of Nations in January. So Rodrygo could play as a right winger in Salah's absence, and he could also rotate with Cody Gakpo. I don't think Rio Ngumoa is ready to be a proper Cody Gakpo backup, because if Cody Gakpo gets injured for a month, then Ngumoa can't play for a whole month as a left winger in the Premier League and in the Champions League. And he's still developing. He's just 16 years old, turning 17 in August. So you don't want to put too much pressure on a young player like Ngumoa, because that could really make or break his career and confidence. Cody Gakpo also is a player that is good, but he's going to be 28 next summer with 1 year left on his contract, and that's a similar situation to Luis Diaz. So maybe Liverpool would be open to selling Cody Gakpo as well. I think we should keep him, and we should sign Rodrygo, and that would be a great transfer move really by Liverpool. And also it's very important that it's a World Cup year. Rodrygo wants to be part of the Brazil squad going to the World Cup, and Ancelotti, the current Brazil manager, hasn't called up Rodrygo to the national team because of his lack of minutes at Real Madrid. So he's absolutely desperate to leave Real Madrid and to go to a big club where he can play regularly. Jamie Carragher said, "Arne Slot will not defend the Premier League crown with only 3 out-and-out attackers in Salah, Gakpo and Ekitike, because Liverpool will definitely sign another attacker, another forward. So Rodrygo could be that player if Liverpool could get this deal over the line. But it all depends on the Alexander Isak transfer saga as well. And it's actually pretty embarrassing that even though Newcastle in their statement said that the Alexander Isak didn't have any promises made to him by any Newcastle officials to be allowed to leave in the summer transfer window, and then Eddie Howe comes out in the press conference and it looks like he's on the side of Alexander Isak, because he said that Eddie Howe said, "Me and Alexander Isak had conversations towards the end of the season about his future. We had discussions about his future. So I'm not going to sit here and deny that." And that's very honest by Eddie Howe, but it looks like the Newcastle hierarchy contradicts what the Newcastle manager is saying. So somebody is not telling the truth, because I'm sure if those discussions happened, then Alexander Isak told Eddie Howe that he would like to leave if a big club comes in for him, and the big club came in for him. Liverpool officially submitted a transfer offer, so Newcastle can't be kicking off because they knew that this would happen, and Alexander Isak told them he wants to leave. They just are not letting him go. But of course Eddie Howe is saying that the club has to act in the best interests. It will do that in every situation. And he also said it looks like it is coming to an end, or it will come to an end pretty quickly. And he's not referring to the transfer window, because that is a hard deadline. The transfer window has a hard deadline of September the 1st. So he's saying that it looks like it's coming to an end, or it will come to an end pretty soon. is saying that this transfer will happen, that Alexander Isak will leave Newcastle. It's just that first Newcastle need to sign a couple of players, which they are awfully slow doing that. But let me know, how do you see this whole transfer window unfolding for Liverpool? I think Rodrigo or Isak, either way, I would be happy with any of these transfers. But if I had to choose, I would go for Alexander Isak. It remains to be seen whether he will be available or not. Let's wait and see. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this. Have a nice day. See you later. Goodbye.